All right, we are
live. Let's end that conversation right there. Put on a bit of this. It's Monday. You know what that means. It's time to dance around your office, your lounge, or your workplace toilet, wherever you're hiding out to catch the show live. We love you. We appreciate you. Enjoy. Just 30 seconds, just to get us in the mood.
I woke up super groggy today, man.
How many whiskies did you have during the football day? That's the question I have.
Good question.
You can't even remember, and you wonder why you're groggy.
I actually didn't have any whiskies during the football. I did have a couple before.
Oh, great. So we got Grumpy Demi today. Perfect.
Really nice football, actually. I've never had it before. I didn't know it, but it was lovely. You're not a whiskey man, are you?
No, I used to. So I had a really good friend. Let's cut this off. Love that song. But we're talking about whiskey. No, I haven't drunk for about 3.5 years. Managed to cut it out, which is great. Lost a lot of productivity hours to hangovers and whatnot. But I went over to stay with a friend in Dubai. He used to work for the Abu Dhabi royal family. He used to buy up businesses and fly around the world and all this stuff. Like, they got crazy money, right? And he was like, I was like, oh, you let me stay with you? That's awesome. Can I pick you something up? And he was like, yeah, can you get me a bottle of Ardbeg? And I'd never heard of it before. So I went into duty free. Said, can I get a bottle of Ardbeg? They were like, which one do you want? I was like, wow, this is pretty pricey. I'm definitely having some of this.
That was the cheapest one, please.
You know me well.
You sent it by the glass.
The cheapest one was not that cheap, let me tell you. So,
did you ask them, do you sell it by the glass?
I should have just got like a baby bottle size.
A little mini bottle.
I plumped for a whole bottle, which I know you wouldn't believe me, but I honestly did. And I'm glad I did, because it was a really nice whiskey. You have it with like some lemon peel or orange peel on the rocks. I remember that being it was quite sour.
A good whiskey is just on the rocks, mate, or it's neat. You don't need to put peels in there. Well, of any kind.
It's just getting a little bit fancy, you know?
No.
Just
next time you stick orange juice in your whiskey.
No, that was just the days when I used to drink vodka. Just the days when I used to drink vodka. So, guys, I'm attempting to do something that no man in his right mind should do on a live stream, and that is attempt to multitask. So I'm just going to log in to our Facebook Live so that I can see the comments. Raj tuning in today. Afternoon all. Thank you, Raj. And the first comment we've got is from Zachariah today. I can't log into StreamYard, so I'm just going. It feels like I'm naked without being able to click on and have control of the motherboard. I feel like Captain Kirk's assistant, Spock. That's who I feel like right now. It's kind of unnerving. So who officially in StreamYard, who was the first comment this week?
It was Paul. It was Paul on YouTube and VJ on Facebook today.
Awesome. Nice one. So Zachariah is saying, whiskey straight, no chaser. Fair enough. Yeah, Brucey is in the house. Good to have you with us, Michael Bruce, again. So, guys, hope you all had a great weekend. Let's just talk about it for like 30 seconds, the football. Andy was saying before we went on air, did I get up? I had a 90% sure feeling that game was going to at least extra time. So there was no way I was getting, like, some of my friends were getting up to go to like there's a casino here, like a really nice posh hotel. And my friends were either going around to some houses or they were going to the casino, which meant they were getting up at like 4:30 a.m. I was like, no, sorry, no thanks. So I decided to set my alarm for 6, which was just after the halftime break to catch the second half.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, so I got it from the second half. So basically when we started losing was when I started tuning in. Call it a coincidence or not, I don't know. But yeah, apparently the first half went fabulously.
Are you admitting responsibility right now live in front of everyone?
I will take
England loss?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take responsibility. Not the fact that we had 3 players who barely played hardly any minutes, and between them they've got.
If you've taken responsibility, let's just end it there. That's fine.
Okay.
So, guys, Gavin is to blame for England's loss. If anyone's feeling sad today,
this is a perfect soundbite for YouTube. It's my fault that England lost the European Championship final.
Yeah.
Happy?
Well, what you're saying is it was all going fine until you woke up.
That's pretty much my days, mate. That's pretty much my days. But yeah, no, it's yeah. One thing that did really kind of pique my interest was like afterwards they were saying, why are you letting these young lads, like why didn't the senior players step up for the penalties? And I thought that was really interesting in that one of the commentators was saying, and there is a relevance to this, which is why I'm bringing it up. One of the commentators was saying, well, it's all based on data and who would have done well in practice and stuff like that. But when you get out to the real McCoy, the real kind of under the lights and under the pressure, you really can't replicate that, can you? Doesn't matter what it is. Driving test, dates, penalty shootouts, trading. Do you see where I'm going? See how that link?
Well, I can add more to that if you want. And make it relevant. We can make it relevant to trading as well. And what my thought on it was, yeah, I get the whole data thing and the practice and everything else, but I said it before it happened, and it wasn't my fault. We've already admitted that it's your fault. That's good, just to make it clear. But I said I wouldn't be bringing on 2 players to take a penalty that haven't played the game, that haven't fought for the game. Because your psychology is not right. Like you've been, if you imagine you've been left out of the game, you're not feeling great. You've been sitting there for 140 minutes, whatever it is, like with the breaks and everything else. And then you're coming on and you've got to take the spot kick in front of all these people, all that pressure, and you've had no involvement in that game. So that just shows you that it's all psychology rather than skill. And it's the same with anything. And I think, yeah, obviously, had they scored those goals, nobody would be saying that. But I genuinely think part of like now relating it back to trading, I think part of success at trading is actually all the hard work and all the setbacks that have gone back and all that sort of striving is why when you do get there, you make a lot of money. Like it's almost like you're working and not really getting that reward, and then suddenly you're like, you're there. You've reached that point, and then you know, in this case, you take the penalty and you score, and you win the tournament. But and in trading, it's in a way it's similar. Like sometimes you've got to do it without having that kind of just having faith that it's going to work out if you keep going, and then eventually once it clicks and you're starting to make this money, you're like, people will look at you and think, oh, it's easy. Like, how are you doing it? You're a genius. But actually, it's not. You just kept going. That's all. That's the difference between you and most.
And talking about keeping going, we've got an interesting topic that we're going to talk about in a second. I just want to add to what you're saying, actually. It reminds me of a story that, like, can you think of any true overnight successes, literally? I remember hearing a story about overnight successes, and the Beatles were famously quoted as saying, well, we're the longest 8-year overnight success. Like they were doing gigs in like these dive little Liverpool back end clubs and men's clubs and social clubs for years before they even got discovered. And it was like, well, you know, you've made it overnight. It's like, no, we haven't, not at all. And you look at, you know, when I heard that, it was a good 4 or 5 years ago that I heard that story, maybe even longer. It just kind of helped me reset about what you were saying to back up your example. It's not that at all, is it? It's just like growing a plant. It's like regular maintenance, regular watering, doing everything right, and then suddenly you've got the lemons on the tree, as it were. So yeah, really, really interesting. And I think the people that are expecting quick fixes, the quicker that you get something, the quicker you're likely to lose it, unless you know how to stabilize it and actually hold that power and that energy, if you like. And obviously we won't get too woo-woo on you guys during this show, but it's just yeah, it's a really, really, really interesting concept that you break up, mate, or that you bring up.
I think also when we talk about overnight success, is that some people have had the right life experience that make it a bit easier for them to succeed quicker. So there's that as well. So like, I'll give you an example. I can think of one of my past students who basically was in the army. And so a big part of what being in the army is being disciplined. And so if you've built that habit of being disciplined every day, it's going to help your trading. Like, so I don't want to say that he was an overnight success, but let's say he succeeded a lot quicker than, say, somebody else who hasn't got that discipline, who hasn't gone through that process. So I think also that's why sometimes, like, you know, so there's two kind of ways to succeed a bit quicker. One is like, if you happen to luckily have the right attributes based on your life experience. And then two is if you've had the right guidance where you know exactly what you need to do, who you need to be, so you can just model it, then you can. So if you know what to do or how you need to be, it's much easier to get there. And I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do here is to kind of showcase that in this, you know, in different ways, through these shows and through the videos that we post.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. So just saying some hellos to a couple of new names that I haven't seen. Maybe it's just because I'm looking through Facebook and trying to multitask. So bear with me, guys. But Monica, great to have you with us. Hello all from Monica and Janine Evans. Hi, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. So I'm just going to jump into my notes because a really interesting kind of topic to follow on what we started talking about today, which was if you were to lose everything, what would you tell yourself, knowing everything that you've learned? What would be some of the things that you would tell yourself if you had to start all over again? Now, the first question that I want to know is, with all the different things that you've got, different investments, different things, would you start with trading again? That's the first question that I've got. And then obviously we can go into more detail from there.
Yes. So do you mean like if I lost all my money or if I lost
all your money? Not just the penalty shootout, but just if you lost all your money.
I mean, it's easy. I mean, nowadays it's easy. Like, I think I'd recover it very quickly, even if I had no money to invest.
Perfect. So, guys, that's it. We found out the answer.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'd do trading. I mean, that's what I've mastered. So there's two areas. Like one is obviously the technical side, but also having the right mindset. So if I've still got those two things, then it's just about saying, okay, well, I need to get some capital, and 100%, I'd use trading as the vehicle to go and generate good amounts of money, be a bit more, let's say, save as much as I can. So not spend as much money as what I spend now, and save. So probably cut down on a few. Like I mean, now I just kind of like there's things that we buy that you don't really need, but you just spend the money. But like I'd probably just be like, okay, what do we need, and as opposed to what do I want, and then just focus on generating enough money to pay for all my bills, and then everything else aside, putting it aside that I could either put it into my own pot, or I'd or I'd invest it somewhere. But if you've got no capital, I'd definitely go down the funded trader route and basically pay a nominal fee to do an assessment, or I'd go and get I'd go and find an investor with one of my contacts and trade their money.
So let's make it a bit more interesting. Just another little fun stat actually that you mentioned, because it doesn't matter how much you earn, whether you earn 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year, 500 grand a year, $1 million a year. Most people can't save. The more they make, the more they spend, the more things that they have that are actually useless for them. Fun stat, higher or lower than 70%, people can't save. So 70% of whatever people make, they can't save, or they can save. What do you think?
Well, I think most people don't save. That's for sure. I don't know if it's a case that they can't. I think everybody knows the formula for saving. Just spend less than you earn. But I think it's about not giving it attention and not making it important. So I realized from a very young age that if I was to ever get anywhere, I'd need to take risks, but also I need to earn more than what I spend, because if I don't invest, then I'm always going to be relying on my time to make money, and there's only a limited amount that you've got. So trading has got some scalability. Obviously, we can leverage money, but there is we can't leverage time. I mean, you've got to put the time in to take your trades, and so you're kind of a self-employed person when you're trading. But the advantage is that you don't have to put in a lot of hours to earn a lot of money. That's what I love about trading, because it's really scalable from that point of view. You know, if I'm putting in an hour and I can make, you know, whatever, 10% a month, for example, and I've got £1,000, well, I'm making £100. But if I've got 100,000, then I'm making 10,000. And if I've got 1 million, I'm making 100,000, and so on. So, you know, the hour is still the same. It's especially with FX, it's $1 trillion market. So you're never going to really impact the market, and you can just earn more with the same amount of time. So it's like your wages go up without having to do extra hours, which is great. So all you really need is the skill set, the knowledge, the belief, the confidence, no matter what the numbers are, what the zeros are, just to do the process. And, that's kind of, that's it really.
Okay, so let's make it a bit more interesting. So I guess let's imagine this scenario, which is very unlikely, but it's more for us who are watching this. Then it's an easy one, really. If you lost everything, then you could just do it straight away and get a funded account, and you could do it over the next 20 days and you'd be sorted. So it wouldn't take you very long at all. Imagine this though, right? Because like in trading, like in life, the line doesn't go up in a smooth way. There's going to be pullbacks and there's going to be retracements, and then you go down a bit and up a bit again. So it would be great to understand what some of the best lessons are that you've learned in trading and in life. Let's get some Demi nuggets, some golden nugget bombs going here. So let's imagine that you had 24 hours or even 20 minutes. Let's make it really, really interesting. You've got 20 minutes. You're about to get hit on the head. You're about to get amnesia. You're about to lose your memory. You won't know who I am, anything. And you've got to try and write down all these lessons, these life lessons of what you've learned in trading and in life to try and piece back together. It's like a movie. What would you start off with? What would be the first kind of lesson or piece of advice that you'd write down on this piece of paper?
I'd definitely write down, make sure you always use Fibonacci, and I'd write the rules down. That's like in 30 seconds, right? 2 to the left, 2 to the right, A, B, C, D, right, market angles. I'd write all my little keynotes. You're a financial trader. You're brilliant at what you do. You can make money easily and effortlessly and so I'd literally list down probably the core, in about 3-4 minutes, the core things that I do, my strategy for financial trading. And I'd probably put myself, I'd write down, the key to your success is remembering that your inner world creates your outer world. So don't forget meditation, mindset stuff. Make sure that you are always prepared, always ready for success, and use trading as your vehicle to grow your money. This is how you do it, and step by step. And these are the ways that you can get more capital. These are the contacts that you should be calling. They know you, they trust you, they've worked with you, they've invested in you. And, you know, remind them of how much money you've made them in the past and that you can do it again. So, yeah, and I'd probably put a little bit of, yeah, obviously I'll also note down probably my key people that I contact on a regular basis. Yes. And yeah, and I mean, various different things that probably are not going to be useful for people, but like, but your influencers, your core, you know, the people that are your mentors, people that you look up to, so, you know, who have helped you in the past. So, you know, things like, and people like Anthony Robbins, I would say, even though I've never, you know, I've never met him in person, I'd say he had a massive influence on on where I am today, because I learned a great deal about mindset, about affirmations, about how to succeed at a high level. So I'd remind myself that this is one of the influential people, and also real people in your life that you know, who have influenced you to get you to where you are, and the people that you speak to today on a regular basis. Remind yourself of the people that actually bring negativity to you as well, that you don't really want to be hanging around with too much, even though they might contact you. And I think that's really important, because, you know, I think people underestimate how much of an influence people have who have the opposite effect on you. And you have to be a little bit ruthless. Like if people are not on, if you are surrounded by people that are, you know, that are either bringing you down or not striving for what you're striving for, not on your sort of thinking path, then you kind of got to get rid of those people out of your life if you want to succeed. And it's a difficult balancing out, because some of those people sometimes are family. So, but it's part of being a champion. It's part of being somebody big in this world. It's part of doing something memorable, I guess, or something that most people, you know, people think about, like, you know, sometimes we joke about Lambos and cars and big houses and everything else, but, you know, the reality is that the people that have all that stuff have been different to everybody else, and they've had to go through processes and things that maybe most people would be very uncomfortable doing. There's no way of achieving that level of success if you don't do what I'm saying here, which is like being surrounded by the right people and getting rid of people that are not serving you. And that's the truth. It's not kind of being mean. It's just not giving them your time. So on
that note, go on, mate. Finish what you're going to say.
Yeah, no, all I was going to say, and a big part of what we do in our group, and why, you know, we love people helping us with it, is to remove, like, we want to remove people that are just there to spam and to take from people, to take their money, because, and like, it's a thing that actually takes people away from where they need to be. So like our group, our Facebook group, is like your network until you sort of grow, and then you can start to like pay to have people that are playing the field at a very, very high level. And that's the way you grow. Like thinking like these people is really important.
So on this, so just checking in with some people. Fabio's in the house. Hi, Fabio. Thanks for commenting. Peter's in the house. And Shannon Wells as well. She's saying it's very true. You never lose your skills. But for the sake of this show and for the sake of the game, oh, look at that. She looks like she's very skillful in the, I was going to say in the kitchen, but maybe in the chef's kitchen. So, but yeah, for the sake of this game, he has to lose his skills so that we can try and work out what are the things that he would put. So there was a really interesting technical point about trading, and we will go back to that. But you mentioned something that I think is also equally important. about your environment and who you surround yourself with. What would you advise to yourself? Because obviously you've had to grow up with that kind of not real full support from your family, and so many people that do this kind of thing, and so many people that just do something different. I think if you do something different, yes, 95% of the time your family members care about you and they don't want you to get behind, probably because they don't want to have to loan you any more money and risk never seeing it back again. But also they just don't get it for outliers that want to do things differently. And you've obviously gone through that relationship with your dad, who wanted you to stay in banking and stay in a nice paid jobs, but you were like, no, I want to do this trading and I want to do it. I want to really apply myself to it. So what would be something that you've learned from that experience that you would kind of write down in your memoirs around that subject?
I guess I would probably say, I would probably put something like, stay, use your intuition, stay strong with your own beliefs about, focus on what makes you feel good, focus on your own, on goals that inspire you, that make you want to get out of bed, that excite you. And I'd also say something like, be careful who you take advice from. There's a lot of people that will have your best interests at heart, but are not necessarily giving you the best advice because they've lived a different life to you, and their inspirations and their goals and whatever else are their own, not yours. And just go for what you believe in. I think that would be the and don't be scared of failure. Failure is going to be part of that journey. Just be good at learning from it and be good at responding in the right way, because it's going to happen. You're going to fail if you go for big things. Like I was kind of, when I was speaking to my mentor, I was kind of saying to him, sometimes I wish I was, sometimes I do wish I was just like a normal employee who didn't have these ambitions, who didn't want to strive for stuff, because it gets a little bit tiring having to overcome all this stuff all the time, right? So like the bigger you play the game, the more things that you have, more challenges you have. But there's times we all feel like that, I think, but ultimately, if I was an employee working for somebody, I'd be bored after very, very quickly, and I'd be complaining that I hate my life and I hate my job. So I know that this is the path that I had to take for my sanity, and obviously it's afforded me a good life. But yeah, you do sometimes get that feeling of like, I wish I was just. Sometimes you just get that feeling of like, I wish I was just doing a normal job. Like you have a little break from your, from your general striving mentality where everything has to be like, you're going for massive things. And it's even now, it's like, I can't settle for what I've achieved. No way. It's just not who I am. What would I do? Just sit here reading books all day? It just doesn't work for me.
You could do a little bit more than that, but yeah, I know what you mean. I remember the first time I sold it. I was lucky enough to start a business, and I really didn't like it, and I learned the hard way. Managed to get out of that and sold my shares at a profit. And then I went back into work. I was like, right, I want to go into a new industry, something I'm a bit more passionate about. So I went in kind of like a medium lower level. And do you know what? I thrived and I loved it for like about 12 months. I was learning so much. And I actually loved, like what you were saying, just going back, you clock off at like 1 minute past 5, or sometimes 1 minute before 5 if it was on a Friday or a Thursday, and you just switch off. And I loved it. I needed that to kind of charge up for a little bit, and while I was learning new things, but I couldn't. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I could not stick at that for a long period of time. It seems that we've touched the nerve on the parents thing for sure. Michael Bruce is saying tough love, they call that, I think. Nick Abraham, great to see you. I know Nick Abraham's a typical person. These are great people that we have in the group. I was speaking with Nick actually, and he's got a business on the Gold Coast. I drive past it like most days, and I didn't realize that. It's so funny when you speak to some of the members, like, guys, just network with these people in the group, because you don't know the stories that people have and the great things that they're doing. And yes, he's here learning cryptos, but he's got a business, and it's a thriving business, but it's a physical products business. And if you know anything about my story, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with physical products again for a long, long while. But it's really interesting you say that. And Nick's commented as well. He's saying that his father tells him to go and get a real job, and then he reminds him that he earns 5 times what his dad does.
My dad would give me a beating if I said that to him. My dad would beat me up if I said that to him.
Aussies aren't as weak as you, probably. But yeah, the other point that he said, the other comment was, the worst is when your parents tell you you can't do something. The best is when you do it anyway. That's a really cool one. And Zachariah is also saying, or even worse, when parents say they believe you're a complete joke. Sorry to hear that, but you're going to have fun proving them wrong. And I think at the end of the day, we're all on our path, whatever that path is. And now more than ever in the world, guys, I think we're being forced to let go of ideals that we think we should have, and just let go and just follow the path. But if we're even trying to just hold on to someone else's, like, we're here, we have the best inbuilt sat-nav, GPS. If we confuse our minds and our feelings, we know exactly what we need to do. We can work it out. We've forgotten a lot of it, but the logic, where that came from, that we should trust people just because we're related to them by blood or through birth, that they know what's best for us, that just sends shivers down my spine. That I know I've tried to do it before when I was younger, and so many people get caught into that trap. It's a strange old one, that, isn't it?
It is. I think Raj makes a good point. I think, like, that's kind of the approach that I took after a while, which is, you know, and I'd say that to the same thing about parents, about friends. You have to know who you are talking to. Like, it just doesn't, why would you waste energy trying to convince people about your path when you know that they are completely different people, completely different mindset? They're only you're either going to get annoyed, and it's very unlikely that they're going to see your point of view. And even if they do, who cares? Like, that's not your job to convince somebody of what you're doing, because there are so many people, and this is a perfect group for that, where there are people that think differently, that are striving, that want to do more. And those are the people that you need to share with. Like, if you post something in our group, I'd say 99% of the people in that group will respond positively to what you post. If you're striving for something, if you're trying to do something positive, and that's what you kind of need. Like, if you go and say, like, you know, look, my goal is, you know, in the next 5 years, I want to become a multimillionaire, and I'm going to do it by investing and by trading and by this, and then whoever you've told just starts laughing at you. So, like, listen, you're crazy. What's wrong with you? Just be happy with your job. What's the matter with you? Yeah, why are you being ridiculous? How's that going to make you feel? It's not going to be like, oh yes, I'm inspired now. You're just going to feel like a clown. So why share that information with somebody? Just keep it to yourself, or share it with people that might say, okay, well, that's great, you know, and then they can give you some positive feedback of how you might do that.
It's really interesting that you say that, because when that first dawned on me, if I can't share my goals with you, you're not my true friend. Just as much when I learned, if I can't be honest with you and tell you what I'm really feeling, at the risk of it hurting your feelings, but if I can't be honest with you and say how I'm feeling or how it makes me feel, we're not really friends. And I had to let go of a lot of people over the last few years because I don't have that connection. Totally agree with what you're saying. Look, mate, there's so much more. I think we might even have to do a part 2 of this, because I know there's so much more of this, and we've only really just touched the sides. But what I just want to go back to the point that you were saying about the first thing you said, which is really interesting. If you're going to get a knock on the head, amnesia, you had 20 minutes to write down on the back of a cigarette box what you would like, some instructions for you. You said, remember Fibonacci. Why was that the first thing? Why was that the first thing that you said?
I think that's the, I mean, it's not the most important thing, like in terms of the whole big picture, but in terms of the my understanding of market structure and how it moves, I think that's the key piece in what I've developed. It really is. I think, obviously, I didn't create the number sequence, but the moving Fibonacci sequence that I've spent years developing, I would probably say it's definitely the key to the strategy that makes me consistent money. Understanding where waves, how the market moves, is so important. So you kind of know when you're buying at the right point. So that would be one of the things that I would not, that took me so, and it probably it's one of the things that I developed that took me years and years of just market analysis and seeing things and testing things and trying to put the right rules together, and like 2 to the left, 3 to the left, like what works, and finding all this stuff. So yeah, I think that's definitely one of them. One of the core things, but obviously it's about having the whole puzzle. But I know that's something that took me the most amount of time to create, and it's something that's unique to us. I mean, there's no way anybody, unless somebody's stolen it, nobody else has it, apart from our students. So, you know, yeah, I guess like it's also, I guess, because I've done, so it's a little bit like what we were saying at the beginning of this show. Some people might steal things, or, you know, use things that somebody else creates. But if you don't really fully understand what you're doing, and you haven't put the work in to create this stuff, and you haven't seen how much data has been tested, it's a little bit like I said with the penalty takers. It's harder to really appreciate how good it is, how good we have it, that we have this tool that can just literally plot the market structure waves. It's, yeah, I mean, I guess people that have traded with and without it will understand how useful it is. So that's why I said that. I would never want to forget that. And then obviously all the other things matter as well, for sure, and psychology and all the other things matter, but I'd feel confident that those things can be built quite quickly. Yeah, and well, congratulations, by the way, to everybody that signed up to our FX program. You get the indicators. So Andy's developed these. So if you've ever tried, like Andy said, if you've ever tried doing Fibonacci, like when you first hear about Fibonacci, oh, it's the natural sequence, it's in architecture, it's in the plants, it's in everything. And you're like, this sounds really cool. And then you try and apply it to trading and you're like, what the heck? Where the hell do I start from? So you need some sort of mad, eccentric genius who's spent years working on hedge fund floors, trading for hours. And yeah, how you've done this, it still kind of blows my mind. And it's definitely your path, because for you to kind of see this and put this together and then create indicators that you've designed to make it time and energy efficient for people is just, it's awesome. So yeah, our students, you get 3 months of that to kind of try the indicators, and then obviously decide if you want to carry them on from there. So let us know in 3 months' time how you get on with them and all that, because like you said, the 2 to the left, 2 to the right, how you come up with that stuff, mate, maybe we'll have to do a show just based on that Fibonacci and how you came up with that, because it would be truly fascinating. I'll have to add it to my list of things to talk to you about during the show. But look, we're gonna have to end it there. I want to move on now to the professional trade setup of the week and the FX news breakdown. So this is the part of the show where we break down all the major news events for the upcoming week in the world of FX. And then obviously from the mind of a professional trader, we take you through what opportunities you should be looking for, and then we'll go and actually show you on the charts, and Andy will break down, and hopefully, well, he'll break down
some trade analysis, some technical analysis, and hopefully we'll be able to give you a professional trade setup. It's not been planned, it's not been scripted, just nice and clean and easy, and let's just do it as you would by yourselves. Because ultimately, like one of Andy's big things is, yeah, he can catch the fish for you, but actually what he really takes pride in is showing you how to catch the fish for yourself. And, you know, for the smart ones amongst you, which is most of you, you realize this is what we're doing every week. It's like just building this habit and just building this habit, and we get to pick up little nuggets along the way. So Mr. Demi, please take it away, my friend.
Yeah, no worries. So one thing that's worth doing on a Monday is just, especially if you've just remind yourself of like what went on last week, and because there could be some follow through, some significance. So you can go back in the calendar and have a look to see, you know, essentially if there was anything impactful on any of the currencies that you might trade, and then you can kind of go in and look, you know, what was the RBA statement, what happened to the Aussie, and so on. And you can kind of see here that we had very strong numbers come out from Canada, so that's super bullish for the Canadian dollar, which might see some follow through. We can see we had a previous number of minus 68,000 to a forecast of 172,000, and then the actual number came out at 230. So if you click this little folder here, it will actually tell you some really cool information about what this actually means, and you know why traders care. So it says here, changing the number of employed people during the previous month, and why traders care. Job creation is an important leading indicator of consumer spending, which accounts for a majority of overall economic activity. So if you know, in a bad economy, employment numbers go down. In a good economy, employment numbers go up. And so you can see here that the number was a lot stronger than forecast. So that could see some follow through for the Canadian dollar over the coming weeks. Of course, it's, you know, this is just one economic indicator, and, you know, you need to be aware of other things that impact currencies such as the CAD, namely oil. So you need to know what's going on with oil. So, you know, just following news channels like Bloomberg will tell you a lot. So it's not as simple as just, you know, looking at one number. That's why we use technical analysis, but it just gives you a bit of an indication of what's going on. And if we kind of look at this week, Mondays today, there's no major data coming out, but then during the week there's quite a bit happening here. So you can see we've got CPI numbers, which is basically inflation. Previous is 0.6. It's actually forecast to go down. If it goes up again, that will be seen as a bullish thing. So we kind of want to see, if you want to see more dollar strength, you want to see at least 0.5 come out tomorrow. So at least 0.5, same as the forecast. If you get 0.6, that should help the dollar increase in value. Just bear in mind that before, you know, if you get a move up or down just before the news event, then it could be a case that the market has priced it in, and you may not get a reaction even with a strong number. But yeah, that's coming out tomorrow. And then we have the RBNZ statement coming out in the early hours for us in the UK on Wednesday. So the rate statement is always going to be important, give us an indication of whether interest rates are going to go up in the future, see what the sentiment is like. You know, interest rates don't change very frequently, guys, but the sentiment does. So it may, you know, you have to kind of learn to listen to, you know, some of the key things that they're saying in these statements, and that's going to have an impact on, you know, whether the Kiwi rallies or not. And then we've got more data coming out from Canada this week as well. We've got another rate statement, and which all of these are linked to the rates. And then we've got Fed Chair Powell testifying at 5 p.m. UK time as well. So that could influence the dollar, depending on if anything unexpected is said. And then employment numbers coming out towards the end of the week from Australia. Interestingly, here we have a previous number of 115 and a forecast of 20. So again, if the number is bigger than forecast, then the Australian dollar is likely to rally. If it's generally in between these two, it's not going to have a big impact. You'd have to have a really big number aside from, so maybe like a drop, maybe negative employment change, for example, would really weaken the Australian dollar. But otherwise, anything in between 20 and 115 probably won't move it too much. And then we've got, what else have we got? GDP from China and Fed Chair Powell speaking again. And then we've got CPI coming out from New Zealand. So a lot of Kiwi data this week. So we've got the interest rates, we've got CPI, and this one is not a set time yet, the Bank of Japan outlook report, and then retail sales from the US. So I'm expecting a really volatile week this week, guys. There's a lot of data coming out. So anything related to the majors, especially, you know, the commodity currencies, you can see the CAD, Aussie, Kiwi, and dollar are the ones that where there's probably going to be the biggest moves. It would definitely be worth, yeah, I mean, definitely worth looking at potential swing trades in some of these currencies. So we can go and have a look at one of them. Happy to kind of take a vote between CAD, Kiwi, Aussie against the dollar. I think would be a good idea. And I will bring in the charts.
Which one would you go for? Because you're just trying to test my multitasking skills now. I know what games you're playing, mate. Which one out of that, as a professional trader, which one jumps out at you for whatever reason as to possibly having the most potential to finding some opportunities on the charts?
Well, I mean, not necessarily based on just the news, but like I would always favor the Aussie. There's a little bit of a bias there because I've got a pretty good track record with the Aussie. So I like the Aussie. I like the way it moves. I find it quite predictable. So I'd probably choose the Aussie dollar personally, but not just because of the news. I think, but yeah, that definitely has I mean, the Kiwi has a little bit more data. There's a bit like over multiple days that could cause like an up move, down move kind of thing. And then the CAD, I don't generally like the CAD because there's a lot of uncertainties. There's a lot of things that can create sudden spikes. It's quite good for swing trades where your stops are quite big. But yeah, I would probably choose the Aussie. And just before I go into one of those currencies, just reminding you guys what we've been speaking about with the dollar and euro. So
this was, if you're just watching for the first time this week, this was the trade that we picked out last week with the analysis. So we'll just give you a review of what we did last week. By the way, guys, if you do want to pick one of those currency pairs, you've got 2 minutes while Andy goes through this. So just put a comment in the comment section. Facebook loves the comment juice. So if you can put a comment in there for us, we would really appreciate it to help us get this group out to even more people. So yeah, take it away, mate.
Yeah, so just a couple of things. I mean, like, you know, when we first started speaking about the euro dollar, we were speaking about it being at a high price up here, and that the likelihood is that it was going to drop. And we've had a nice drop since then. And if you kind of look at where we are right now, you can see that we're now at the point where there could be some support coming in. You know, we've hit that first daily level, that our first automated daily level, and it's bounced. And just one other observation that I've made here on the daily chart on the euro is that we have just crossed up on the MACD. You can just see it right there. Now it's below the 0 line on the daily chart, but we have crossed up. So, you know, I did a video a couple of weeks ago about dollar strength, and you know, that's basically been the case. However, right now I'm a little bit cautious on that because we've got this cross, we've hit our daily level, and if I just kind of show you something I spoke about last week, was that, you know, we broke this market angle, and I spoke about, you know, the potential for this market to come back and test here, which it's done. So it's now kind of acting as resistance. However, I am a little bit reluctant to sell it now. And if I just kind of take this line here and highlight this, the fact that on the 4-hour chart, we've just gone above the 0 line, which again is bullish. So I would be cautious to tell you to sell this right now. I'd be thinking we might actually get a potential push up. So I would be looking potentially on this line for the market to possibly bounce. And so, you know, at least, you know, that kind of thing. And then we'll kind of see where we are. So, you know, I mean, we can do the euro dollar if you want to, if I want to go a little bit more deeper, since we started it, or we can just go back to one of those. What's the preference? Aussie.
Yeah, let's go with the first one that you were thinking of, and mix it up a bit, so we're getting to know different currencies and different ways that they move.
Okay.
Obviously, we can maybe touch base with one of these two next week. So yeah, let's just do that. We've got about 10 minutes left, so if we can get in as much as we can in that time, that'd be great.
All right, let's do that. So
this is Aussie US dollar, right?
Yeah, this is Aussie US dollar. So I will just have a quick little look at the higher time frames. Let's just let's put in the weekly chart. I think that's quite good. So this is kind of since 2019 April. It's kind of stayed in this kind of range, I guess you could call it. And you know, where I like to see, you know, where does this like to spend most of its time? So, you know, you could say that bit there's a bit of an anomaly, but essentially this is, you know, most of the time since 2019, the Australian dollar has mostly, you know, aside from that there, this is where most of the time has been spent between these barriers here. And you can kind of see that the market has approached resistance and has failed at resistance. So it's created this kind of, you know, potential double top here, like this, which is bearish. And you can kind of see that we had this sort of double top here, and then it just kind of drifted lower, and that's what it's at the moment, that's what it's doing. So let's go over to the daily chart with that in mind. Now we're just going to kind of delve a little bit deeper. And I'm just going to put in a couple of little things. Let's zoom out. Okay, I'm just going to go a little bit deeper here and see what's going on. Looks like that's a kind of like, you know, you could say symmetrical triangle. Some people would even say, you could maybe say it's a descending one. But yeah, it's either way, you can kind of see it's broken down. And let's plug in our levels. What I'm looking for here, guys.
New to this what Andy's just clicked on there is the daily support and resistance levels. So these are the institutional levels where the banks look to either buy or sell. And it's why, like, if you read any testimonials of people, what they're saying, instead of just trading like a retail trader, they're trading more like institutions. This is one of the reasons for that. So just to give you that little bit of context in case you're new to this show or it's your first time watching.
Yeah, and it's just a quick way to see. Like, I don't generally like to keep all of this on here, but it's just for me to know immediately, right, okay, look, there's a double level there, 73.50. This was a strong level, and you can see it's actually bounced straight in there. And now we're kind of sitting on a bit of support. So it could be a case again that we get a possible retracement off the back of a strong daily candle here. You know, we saw it there with the euro, and it could be the same here. So we can just have a little look and see if we have any other confirmation of that. So you see with this one, it hasn't quite crossed yet. If the MACD crosses above here, you could get a nice little push up here. But I think ultimately the weekly chart is showing us that we could be drifting lower overall. That's what we can see at the moment. Let's also see what else there is. There's some little bits of information here that we should factor in. And let's see where the there's any obvious. Yeah, so that's again kind of, yeah, really reiterating what I was saying. So you've got these really nice, a really strong level here at 73.86 ish. So we could be getting ready for possibly, you know, a little test in here. And then, you know, like, as you can see, even here, as the market was going down, it wasn't going down, you know, it was still waving here, you know. So it could be that we push down and then we create these waves. So I would be kind of marking down 73.86 to 73.50 as areas to be aware of. And A, B, C, D. Okay. Let's also plug in. I'm going to get rid of these levels now for a sec. We're just going to put in our fibs. That looks nice there. Where's the 73? So what's that low? 73, yeah, 73.86-ish. So the level is 73.86 to 73.50. I'd be wary of this zone here. So I think we could get a push down, and then maybe we could even rally back up towards the 618 up here before potentially going lower. So I would be looking for something like this. So the key zones, guys, to look out for is the 618, which is about 72.23, and then these two levels here. And if I just have a quick little look on the 4-hour chart to see if we've got any other confirmation, let's do that very quickly. I know we don't have a lot of time. We will okay, two things I'm going to do. One is I'm going to put in my fibs, and two, I'm going to put in my trend lines, and then we'll see where we stand. So right now, no pullback, A, B, fade zone. Okay. So there's two real scenarios that I see here, guys, with this. I think we're either going to be looking at the area that we said. What area is that? So yeah, which, let me see, did it go back to its 38? Not quite. Very close, but not quite. So let me do my down trend lines as well. One sec. Yeah, broken trend line. And let's
just a little nugget over the years. Over years and years and years of analysis, Andy has observed that every time a trend line is broken, from the weekly, the daily, the 4-hour, all the way down to the hourly, anytime a trend line's broken within context like this, then there's an 80% chance that it will go to the next trend line.
Yeah.
So what is that for new people watching this, just seeing a whole bunch of lines going, ah, this is mental. What does that mean? What is that showing us right now?
So what I'm basically seeing here is so the trend lines, like as you said, the fact that this trend line has been broken indicates that we could be ready to go to the next trend line. So now it's a question of, okay, have we found the low? Are we at the low point, or are we going to go down to that extra other support zone, which is you know, between 73.85 and 73.40? I actually think it's worth a play long before that point. And I'll be looking at finding the daily trading range, because we've broken this. We have a strong daily bar.
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's enough there for me to take a long trade. So what I'm basically looking for is you can get it on a 618 pullback. So anywhere, like, look, you can see here old resistance there. So the 618 is there to catch, and then there's a target there. So the indicator will tell you the target is there. So 75.35.
Which is the next trend line as well, funnily enough.
Which is the next trend line. It's, yeah. So basically,
and also the intersection of that market angle line as well. So they are your three confluence points, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then you take this, you could take this trade long, and then you could potentially look for a short somewhere here. So, which makes a lot of sense, because then you're going short in an overall probable likely scenario that the market's going to continue to go lower. Where the 75.30 only takes you to about there, so it does make sense. Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent play. I think for those that are a bit more cautious, you can kind of take a break. So like, instead of just getting in at the 618, you can look for the market to basically break one of these lines, and you can buy it there, or you can let it break, pull back, and then you can buy it there, like that. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to wait for the breakout, you could probably play it with a tighter stop. If you're not going to wait for the breakout, you're going to buy it cheap, you probably want to put your stop below here, and then target up there, exit, and then look for a short signal to sell it up there to go with the overall likely sort of double top that we're seeing at the moment in the market, and the probable continued dollar strength, unless we see something different in the coming weeks. Yeah, is that okay?
Very good, Mr. Demi. So look, guys, we have slightly overrun today, but obviously we want to give you as much value as possible. So we've broken down all the big major news events in the world of FX for this week. We've applied that onto the charts. We've looked back at what we did last week on the Euro USD, and now we're looking at, we've highlighted potentially a couple of trade setups actually for the Aussie US dollar. So again, what we'll do next week is we'll look at, we'll review those, and maybe even there might be some updates that we can post this week in the group as well. So as you're starting to see, guys, there's no kind of magic ball, but the closest thing that you are getting to a magic ball is someone who has done the years and years and years of putting all of these things together. And now, like you say, we're looking at 3 or 4 different confluence points that are all saying the same thing. If you were looking at going to the beach in the UK, why would you? Because it's probably going to rain. But anyway, the point is, if one weather station is saying it's sunny between 2 and 5, another station is saying it's sunny between 2 and 5. If most weather stations and weather forecasts are saying it's going to be sunny, there's a higher probability. Doesn't guarantee that it's going to be sunny, but you are playing the probabilities. You are hedging on the side of probability. And that analogy was really just to apply to trading and to say there's no guarantees, but what we're looking for is probabilities. And what you're learning here is how to stack these small probabilities, and if they're all saying the same thing and there's a reason for it, then you're going to have a higher probability play. And if you always use risk management, good risk management, you're set, you're golden, you're a third of the way there. Anything you want to add to that, mate?
No, just I'll answer the people's question. Daily trading range is, DTI is the daily trading range. It's a tool that we used. So if you're on the FX program, you'll have that. It basically predicts the high and low of the day with a very high percentage accuracy, 95%. The market will stay within the bands. So that's what it is. yeah, and other than that, all is good. Sort your life out, Gavin, and get back on the comment stuff, so I don't have to be pressing these.
I have a hardware issue. My laptop, my work laptop that I do all of this stuff through, is not charging, so it's being collected and sent off tomorrow. It should be back hopefully by the end of the week. All things being well, so I don't want to jinx it, but now I've just said that, I probably won't get it back for a few weeks, but we'll see how we go. But look, guys, that is everything for the show. We won't play any music because we've overran. Thank you very much for being here live. We love you loads. If you're watching this on the replay, we love you, but not quite as much because you couldn't get here with us live. But thank you very much. 4%. Okay, that's fair. 4%. We love you 4% less, and that's valid. But enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and still put a comment in the comment section, even if you're watching this over the next couple of days, because like I said, it really does help us with regards to the Facebook algorithm and the Facebook juice to get us out in the world of Facebook to even more people, which is our goal, to help as many people as possible with serious aspirations and serious goals within trading and investing. So look, that's it from us. We're back same time, same place tomorrow to talk all things cryptos. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great day, great evening, great afternoon, wherever you're watching from. See you later.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye. It feels wrong not to have music.
This is where you press stop, mate.
Oh, guys, I'm sorry. He doesn't want to put music on, so bye-bye. Maybe tomorrow.
Are you still talking?
Yeah, well, at the moment I am. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna press end now. I pressed it.
Whenever you want, boo boo.
All right. Bye, guys.